बोलिए सतगुरु महाराज की जय, सच्चे दरबार की जय. Thank you everyone for joining me for another spiritual discourse. When we want to get good at something, we look at those individuals who are already good at it. We study them, we study their lives, we see what their daily routines look like. For example, if you want to become a great basketball player, then we look towards the Michael Jordans, the Sue Birds, and the LeBron James. We look at their lives, their routines, their strengths, and we try and implement those in our lives. The same holds true of if you want to become a great investor. You look at those individuals who are already great investors and study their strategies, what qualities do they possess, and try and implement those in your daily life in order to become a great investor. Applying the same theory on the spiritual path, looking at disciples who have traveled this path before, there is one quality that I believe is key in order for spiritual success. And that quality is Titiksha, meaning fortitude, forbearance, or endurance. I find that is the one quality that made disciples be successful along the spiritual journey. So what is Titiksha? Adi Shankaracharya explains this in the 24th shlok of the Vivek Chudamani. He says, Sahinam sarva dukhanam apratikar purvakam chinta vilap rahitam satitiksha nikatyate. That no matter how much suffering there is, one bears it. He says, without complaining. Think about a hot day and your air conditioner broke down. Do you spend the entire day complaining about how hot it is? Is every conversation of yours about how your air conditioner broke down and how hot it is? Titiksha means to bear the heat without the notion of suffering. Adi Shankaracharya further says, without worry, bear circumstances. Have you ever been on a vacation with a worrywart who's always worried about, are we going to make the flight? Are we going to miss our connection? I wonder if the hotel's going to be okay. Someone who's worried about trying new things because they might hurt themselves, or do not want to try the local food because they might get an upset stomach. It is definitely not an enjoyable experience. Titiksha means to go through the circumstances of life without worrying. He further says, vilap rahitam, meaning without lamenting or without whining about a situation. Once on a train in India, I saw a mother who boarded the train with her son. And it seemed like it was the first time he had been on a train. He was so excited. Looking out the window, he was excited about how fast the train was going. But a little while later, he got thirsty. He asked his mom for some water, but she had none. She assured him, though, that when they get to the next station, she will definitely get him some water. But the whole ride till the next station, the boy complained, "I'm so thirsty, I'm so thirsty, I'm so thirsty." He repeated that statement on end till the next station. Titiksha means to face any circumstance without lamenting about it. It is defined as the endurance or forbearance that one has to face all the challenges in life. It does not mean to suffer without resistance. It is the ability of one to face unpleasant things without suffering internally. It means the absence of any kind of sorrow within the mind. In olden times, when individuals sought spirituality, they were invited to live in the ashrams with the gurus. They left the comforts of their homes. They slept on the ground. They wore the same clothes every day. They went out and begged for food and ate whatever they received in their bowls. All this was done to help build their spiritual endurance, to help build an inner strength, to be okay with whatever life brought them. If they received food that day, they ate. If they didn't receive anything, they didn't eat anything, and they were okay with it. In today's day and life, we expend so much energy on the little things, from what to wear to what to eat. They kept life simple. They wore the same clothes every day so they did not waste any energy on deciding what to wear. They ate whatever they received, so they did not expend hours trying to figure out what they're gonna have for lunch or dinner. Because they knew if they wasted time trying to build comfortable conditions or favorable circumstances for themselves, then they would not have enough time left to build an inner life. And it holds true today too. Before we know it, the whole day goes by in trying to fulfill our mundane duties, that when it is time to do our spiritual practices, we have no energy left. So the question arises, what is it that you can simplify in your daily life so that you have more energy, you have more time to build your inner life? There are two types of titiksha. The first is bearing this world, the seasons, the heat, the cold. Maybe people are not so pleasing to us. Maybe the social rules and regulations are not satisfying to us. But if one can bear all this without complaining and without the feeling that they are suffering, then they have cultivated titiksha. The second type of titiksha is one which is internal. And this is explained in the Bhagavad Gita. It says, Shaknoti hevya sodham prak sharira vimokshanat kama krodhad bhavam vegam sa yuktaha sa sukhinava. Meaning those persons are yogis who, before leaving their body, can check the forces of desire and anger, and they're the ones who live happily. So beyond trying to deal with the heat and the cold, with the people around us or the social situations, ultimately, the Bhagavad Gita says that ultimately we need to endure the impulses of desire and anger. After the war of that he won the kingdom over bloodshed, that he destroyed his kin. And Lord Krishna says to Yudhishthira that you are lamenting about a war in which you think you have killed so many people. But let me tell you, Yudhishthira, no war has taken place and you have not killed anybody. The war is yet to take place, and you have to be prepared for it. In this war, none of your brothers, not Arjun, not Bhim, no one will be able to help you. Not even your army can come to your rescue. No weapons will help you overcome this war. And the enemy in this war is not Duryodhan and his brothers, but the enemy is your mind. And you have to win this battle with your mind. You have to subdue the mind. This battle is yet to be fought. Lord Krishna explains that the ultimate war is the war that happens within, is when the mind revolts. And ultimately, what we have to endure is the impulses of desire that rise within us and the impulses of anger that exist within us. And it's not enough to just hold back the anger and not react. But that anger should not rise within us in the first place. One who has endured the temptation of desire and anger gains self-mastery. Even in the book of James, chapter 1, verse 12, he says, "Blessed is the man who has endured temptation, for when he is approved, he receives the crown of life." Titiksha, brothers and sisters, is the withdrawal from the feeling of wanting to retaliate. When that desire to react doesn't even show up anymore. It's one thing not to comment on something that is desireless or seems unpleasant to the eye, but it is another thing to not even see it as desireless, but to see the beauty in it. A theologian, Alistair Begg, says that endurance is the key indicator of spiritual fitness. That one who endures temptation, whether it's on the physical plane with the body or on the mental plane with the mind, one who endures through it, one who pushes through them, is one who gains great spiritual progress. The world tempts us to find an easy way around our problems, but we are encouraged to push through them, to walk through them, so that we may be strengthened. Now, these are all very hard things for people in the world to accomplish today. But the truth is, brothers and sisters, if you want to enter a spiritual path or a spiritual way of thinking, then you have to remake yourselves and not be okay with just being an ordinary human being. So the question arises, how do we cultivate Titiksha? Because through previous examples, we know that this can be cultivated. This can be built. This quality can be built within. All we have to do is the same thing a marathon runner does. When we think of running, the first thing that comes to mind is cardio, the functioning of the heart. This same heart plays a very important role in our relationship with God. The more we can keep it open, the more we will experience His unconditional love flow through our lives. The second is strength training. People who train for marathons do high intensity interval trainings. And this could be sprints, they could be running up steep hills, various different exercises. We can apply this same technique in our lives. Go through periods where you practice intensely. It could be food fasts, it could be technology fasts, it could be pushing yourself to sit a little longer in your meditation practice. You know what your limits are. Push through those limits. Set small, achievable goals. And once you achieve them, set some more goals. Keep building your inner strength. The third most important thing is diet. And on the spiritual path, it's not only what we eat, but it's also what we take in through our senses. What we see, what we hear, things, the people we surround ourselves with, things that we surround ourselves with all hold great importance. You cannot expect yourself to spend your entire day watching Netflix or watching movies and then expect your mind to be concentrated when you sit in your spiritual practice, when you sit in meditation. So be vigilant about what you are taking in. And the last is discipline and motivation. Marathon runners, they rearrange their entire lives around their practices, around their marathons. Do exactly the same. Rearrange your life around your spiritual practice. And if that means to duck out at 9 p.m. from a gathering so that you can wake up for your 4 a.m. meditation, then so be it. Long distance runners, if you ever talk to them, they talk about something called the wall. And this is a point in the race where their body gives up. Their lungs and their legs are burning. The mind is saying, stop. The urge to quit is so extreme that it's almost impossible to put aside. But when they push through that wall, it gives them this renewed amount of energy to see the race to completion. We have an athlete within each and every one of us. And this is the marathon of our life. So get out of your comfort zones. Push that wall. Push your limits. Set new limits and then push them again. Whether it means to sit longer, sit straighter, whatever it means for you. You are aware of your limitations. So build your own goals that will help you cultivate Titiksha, that will help build your spiritual endurance, your inner strength, so that you can see this race to completion. On that note, we'll conclude today's discourse. Thank you all for connecting with me today.